All right. Awesome. And Joanna, super stoked that we got to set this time up to meet and talk about your journey through the program, journey with diabetes, all that fun stuff. But before we get into the actual program talk and kind of where you've been able to make it to, I'd love to give people a little of an idea on where you came from. So, like, when were you diagnosed? Do you use a pump or MDI? Tell us a little bit about yourself with diabetes.
So I was diagnosed at 7 years old, September 2008. I went into the hospital for some other reason. And basically, they're like, her blood sugar's high. We think she has type 1 diabetes. So I've had it for almost 13 years now. It'll be next month. It'll be 13 years. So my diabetes is about to be a teenager. That's kind of funny. Um, so like a teenager, it's been very finicky for the past few years, especially of me being a teenager, hitting puberty kind of after the peak of female puberty, we should say. And it's just kind of gone crazy. And my endocrinologist wasn't really helping. Like, they're like, this stuff works for adults. And I'm like, but I feel like I'm in between an adult and the stuff you're saying is not working. So I'd heard of you, Matt, and I was looking at the program and I was like, well, if I could find a way to do it, I think it would help a lot. So here I am a couple months later.
I love
So
that. I love that you
it's
were,
gone a lot better. Yeah.
yeah, I love that you were not willing to accept it should be working. You were like, well, I'm going to go find some other way to do it then if you're not going to help me. um,
Mm-hmm.
and with your, I was going to ask too, you're like, my diabetes is about to be a teenager. I was going to say, like, oh, the teenage years are known for being crazy. And you got to that already. You beat me to the punchline. But 13 years. Kind of diving into a little bit more detail with your diabetes, are you on a pump, CGM, MDI? What's your chosen path?
So I have had the pump for almost 12 years now, and this is my third pump. I have the Tandem X2 with the Dexcom G6. So when it works, I have the pump and CGM. I have had technical issues lately, but that's something you overcome and we have to deal with because tech has issues, and we just have to be grateful for when it does work. So
That's a powerful perspective. Yeah, certainly. I've had issues with like my computer, so it makes sense that other technology that we use for diabetes would occasionally have malfunctions. So that's a huge bummer, obviously, to have to deal with that, especially when it's your health.
mm-hmm.
So, pump and CGM. Have you always been on a pump?
No, I was on MDI for about 11 months until I switched to a Medtronic pump at the time. So I've been on a pump for most of my diabetic career.
Okay.
But yeah.
Gotcha. So the pump wasn't new to you when you got over to our program. Before you came in, though,
Mm-hmm.
what was like the main struggle? What were you
Yeah.
dealing with before you worked with us?
So before the W's in action, I had a lot of roller coastering blood sugars, and my mom and sister both have diabetes. So it was like we were kind of all struggling with our own thing, but it was like we all could identify with the whole roller coaster. And it was like I'm high and then I'm low and I don't know when to eat and I feel bad overall because it's just exhausting. So going into the program, I was just like, I'm tired of this. I need to figure out something to do for myself that I can help fix this.
Yeah, absolutely. So the roller coaster, I think it's a term that a lot of us are familiar with. The ups and downs of the blood sugars. It's the worst Disneyland ride of all time. So yeah, I
Mm-hmm.
can understand not wanting to go on that ride. Um, what did it feel like when you were trying to solve that problem? It sounds like all three of you were kind of dealing with it in your own way. Was it frustrating? Was it
Yeah.
defeating? Like, what were you feeling?
So for me, it just felt like I was already on so much insulin already, and then it just kept piling on and on and on. And it's like with my you're not supposed to compare yourself because every diabetic is individual and different, but it still happened. And it would be like, well, my sister has those all the time and I have them sometimes. And so she has lower A1C than I do, but it doesn't feel fair. And it's like, yeah, it's like I don't feel right about this, but figuring it out because I am an adult and I moved out on my own, it's like, well, now I can think about it myself and I'm not worrying about her, even though it's like in the back of my mind. I'm trying to concentrate on myself and fix the things that I can do. And if the doctors will help, great. If they don't, I guess I have to find something else to help myself, because that's with anything in life. If somebody's not going to help you, you got to do it. So
Very true. Yeah, we got to be our best advocate. Speaking of, was there anything else that you tried to try to smooth out the roller coaster before working with us? Did you try like any special diets or strategies or anything?
I've always played with my basals and carb ratios. Like those were kind of a good base setting, but I hadn't really solidified everything. Like going into basal testing, it was crazy how much it changed. So
Yeah. Okay. Well, that's good to know. I'm glad that that was a useful first step for you. I mean, even just jumping into the program though, like you said, you found me somehow. What made you take a chance on working with us? Seeing that like we were strangers at that point when we jumped on a call, right?
yeah. So actually it was my mom, the live stream or whatever back in January. So I kind of followed along with that a little bit. And then I was getting emails and I was like, well, I watched the Diabetes in Action video, like intro or whatever. And I was like, well, it could work if they're going to take me, and depending on the money and everything else. I was like, well, I could try, because I don't remember if he mentioned it in the videos before I got into the program or after, but it was like, endos can help with some of the variables, but they can't help with everything. And you're one of the people that's been trying to figure out all the other stuff to help other people. And I'm grateful for that. So learning from somebody else that's done it already instead of having to do it myself all the time.
Yeah, I'm certainly, if you could learn from somebody else's mistakes, why not? Right? And I've certainly made a lot of mistakes that I had to learn from over the years. So I'm glad that that's been helpful for you to pick my brain and figure stuff out. Was there a point like in the program where you realized it was working for you?
I think so. Within the first couple of weeks, I was already seeing better numbers. It was kind of crazy. So
That's awesome. What kind of numbers did you see before the program versus the end? Like what's it at now versus back then?
So going into the program, they estimated my A1C to be 7.4, and around where I was in the middle, I was down to 6.7. So my A1C went down 0.7 points, and it's the first time it's been under 7 in quite a few years. I don't remember exactly, but I know starting high school, I was over 8. So I got it down even further. That's great. And then my time in range has increased a lot too. Like it was probably 40-50% on a good day, and now it's 80s, 90s on a great day. So I've actually had 100% like once, but that felt pretty
good. That's fantastic. So you dropped your A1C further by 0.7, and that was in the middle of the program. So it sounds like it's going to keep getting better with the averages kind of, snowballing. And then the time in range, you went from 40s and 50s on a good day to now 80s and 90s. So you jumped like 40 or 50%.
Yeah.
Is that right? Holy cow. That's amazing. Man. And that is, honestly, I want to say this, Joanna, that's a direct reflection of the efforts that you put in. I saw you on all the calls. You're always asking questions and always trying to fix things and get it fine-tuned. So I'm super proud of you. That is amazing.
Yeah.
That's awesome. I mean, what's it like now that your problems solved? Like, how do you feel? Anything different?
I mean, it feels a lot better to just go and like if everything's working and going like with my life. Because I mean, I can work 60 hours now if I want to. I'm not worried about going low 4 times during my work day or whatever. And I can have the freedom to do other things. Like I'm going back to school in a couple weeks and I'm not so worried about it now because I have better control of my blood sugars.
Mm-hmm.
So it feels really good. Like
That's,
I still have the ups and downs I have to watch for, but that's what you get. I mean, you can't always control perfectly, but you can do your best, and that if you put in the work, it'll turn out well.
I think that's such a powerful distinction too. Like 80%, 90% higher, absolutely possible. But like 100% at 100% of the time, we're not going after that, right? We want really good, but like perfection isn't possible in any area of life. And the fact that you know that, I think it relieves a lot of the pressure off of you to be perfect, right? But then going back to school, having full work weeks, being able to focus on work, like you said, not go low 4 times in a day, that sounds like a big difference as far as even peace of mind. Is that fair to say?
Yeah, because I remember my first ever job, it's like I would have to be constantly checking my CGM, and now it's like, well, it'll alert me if I'm dropping, and then I go eat a snack and I roll with it. It's not that big of a deal. Whereas before, it's like I'd have to stop everything. So it's a lot easier now.
Absolutely. I love that. That is so exciting. And I found some similar stories to be true. Like as diabetes gets more controlled, it just kind of tends to run itself a bit more. It's less stressful. It pulls less of your attention. Have you experienced something similar?
Yeah, I mean, I've dealt with a lot of stress, depression, anxiety, and it's like a lot of it's calmed down for the diabetes aspect of it because I have solved the main part of it. Like there's still things you have to roll with in life and changes that happen, but you can manage it now that I've kind of gotten over the biggest part of the hump, we could say.
That's awesome.
Now I can adapt to stuff.
Yeah. And that's powerful in and of itself, right? Being able to adapt to what life throws at you. Because I don't think there's anyone on earth that has the exact same day over and over and over again. So, yeah, we have to be able to adapt. I love that you're able to learn that. Okay, so thinking back to like, let's just say the conversation that you and I had on the phone when you were first applying, or maybe even before that, what advice would you give to another diabetic that was in your shoes before you started the program with us?
I would say if you have the chance, like go for it. Yeah, I was kind of questioning. I was like, I don't know if I could do this, but it could be worth it. And I've seen the results of it, and I think it really was worth it for me. And it has improved my life a lot. So there's other things I deal with, and that's something the diabetes can take a problem out of, but I just have to learn to adapt, and that's what I've done with Matt's program, and I think a lot of other people can learn that too. So take the chance while you got it, because you won't always have it.
Love that. That's powerful. And it's true. I could move to like Mexico and never be seen again. Who knows? Oh man. Well, I love that perspective. Love that you took the chance and then of course put the efforts in, because radical changes there, 40 or 50% increase in time and range. I can't get over that. That's fantastic. I didn't realize it was that much of a difference. That's so exciting. With the actually, you know what? Is it cool if I ask you like one final question?
Yeah.
Okay, cool. I would love to add this in there. For everybody watching, what would be like a gold nugget from the program? Maybe it's a mindset thing, maybe it's a diabetes strategy, like how to count carbs with your hand, or like, you know, what gold nugget stood out to you that you would want to share with people?
I would just say there's bad days for everyone, and I think with the program, yeah, I've learned a lot, but we've also built a sense of community, and that you can learn a lot from other people too. And it's not just you're not alone in this. So we can all get through together, and if we can, we help out. Like even the Facebook group, I've commented on other people's posts on how it's worked for me and stuff like that. So it's just helpful for. It's been a lot helpful for me to just learn from everybody else.
That's awesome. And I love seeing you in the Facebook comments on other people's stuff, encouraging, sharing what works. That's what the community is there for, right? I think that's fantastic. Awesome. Anything else that you want to share?
Hold on. I'm trying to see if I can share my screen.
Ooh, you like a Dexcom report?
Yeah.
Holy cow.
So this is one of my recent ones, and then there's a more recent one. Let me see.
Oh my goodness. I see some 90s, more 90s,
and
more 90s.
Yeah,
wow.
There's 3 90s and an 80.
There you go. That is fantastic. Love seeing those green bars. Wow. Well, there you go, folks. Green screen is full of green bars across the Dexcom reports. Joanna, that's amazing. Again, I want to say how proud I am of you. Like I like to tell people, like, I didn't change your life. I showed you the path, and then you walked that path. You ran that path. You just destroyed your A1C and your time in range. It is just incredible to see what you've been able to do with the program. So, yeah, again, I'm so proud of you. Love the shirt, by the way.
Or your shirt, yeah.
Great on you. That's fantastic. But you put the work in, you got the results, and I'm really happy to see how far you've come, but also just watching you continue to grow, Joanna. It's awesome.
Yeah.
Sweet. Everybody else who's watching, first of all, thank you for joining us and listening in on Joanna's amazing story and seeing some amazing CGM graphs. That was fantastic. For anybody who wants to check out kind of what we got going on and get an interest for like what we do, I think this is actually the same video that Joanna watched initially. What she was mentioning is there's a free training that I put together. It goes over basal, bolus, exercise, nutrition, all that fun stuff. And you can find that free training at diabetesinaction.com. And that'll actually give you a look into our world to see if you like what you see. And if you do, you can hop on a call with me like Joanna did. And we'll see if it's a good fit for you guys too. And if you can get these awesome results that Joanna has been able to pull off. So definitely check that out. Joanna, thank you again for making time to share your story today. I appreciate it.
You're welcome. Thank you.
Absolutely. Everybody else, have an awesome day and keep up the fight.